If you've just joined us, you're watching News Night here on the Rise News channel, coming to you from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Well, the chairman of Nigeria Governors Forum and Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, joins us in the studio tonight to speak more on his presidential ambition and what he plans for Nigeria if elected in 2023. Thank you so much, Mr. Governor, for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you for having me.
News Night.
It's barely a month, about 5 weeks, you were seated here during your party's convention, national convention, and we did ask you if you were going to run to become Nigeria's next president. You were not affirmative at that point. What has changed, and why did it take this long for you to decide?
Thank you, Adesua, for having me. I was not affirmative because I had not concluded my consultation. Running for the presidency of Nigeria is serious business. It's not just something you wake up one morning and decide to do. And when you have people who do that, you clearly would be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, ultimately. This is something that requires deep introspection, as I indicated in my declaration speech this morning. And I had to consult my family, particularly my wife, to see if after spending the last 12 years in public office, which clearly takes its toll on every family, she would still be able to endure another round of engagement in public service. Because for me, leadership is nothing but duty and service, and it's not a tea party. So it took me time, but by the time I completed the consultation, spoke to political leaders, party leaders, professional colleagues, in addition to my family, I arrived at the point that I felt, yes, I should throw my hat in the ring, not just for the fun of it, but because I have a vision of what the future of Nigeria really should be. And I shared that vision this morning.
That's interesting to know, because you just said, you know, you're not playing. And the question that's been asked, you know, the issue of fellow aspirants actually attending, aspirants' declaration. You had the former governor of Ogun State, Senator Ibikule Amosun, at your declaration, and he'll be declaring tomorrow too. And the question is it a case of all you aspirants playing games with Nigerians? Is that what it is? And then again, how would you react to what the PDP is saying, that you don't qualify to be Nigeria's president? How would you react to both?
First, having Senator Amosun at my declaration was an expression of camaraderie and a statement that this is not a do-or-die affair.
Right.
It's the presidency of Nigeria that we're seeking. It's not the life of one another. So for us, what is important is not to lose sight of what this is about. It's about improving the human condition. It's about improving the lives of ordinary Nigerians. The fact that Senator Amosun is running, or that my friend that I just ran into coming into the studio is running, it should not mean that we should stop being friends. I think what it offers is an opportunity to share competing visions with our party members and Nigerians at large, and for them to decide which vision approximates their own sense of where Nigeria should be headed. And I think that's an intellectually engaging manner of conducting this. The more the merrier. But share your agenda, share your vision, convince Nigerians of what you have to offer. Tell Nigerians what you have done, what your antecedents are, in order to say you're qualified for this. As for PDP,
to be what the PDP is questioning, asking whether you qualify. That they're actually saying you don't qualify for that job.
PDP is entitled to its opinion. You know what they say about that. In journalism, you teach us that facts are sacred.
Right.
Opinion is free. Anybody can arrive at any opinion. What other qualification would you need as a Democrat, a founding member of this party, the All Progressives Congress, a founding chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, a two-term chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, a former cabinet minister of mines with a record of achievement in that office, and someone who has been a long-standing fighter for democracy in Nigeria, and a scholar in my previous life. So if you add all of that together and you look at the results in the assignments that I have superintended, there can't be any doubt in the mind of anyone that I'm not qualified for this job. But if you want to play petty politics, you can say that.
You say the more the merrier, but for keen political watchers, they say this is a case of too many cooks spoil the broth. When you look at the number of aspirants from your party, I lost count. Perhaps my producer can help me. I think it's about 13 or 15, and the list is growing. Are you not worried that these numbers may complicate things for your party? And this may, now jeopardize what you seem to want to achieve. Should you not have a clear winner, you will go back to a runoff, and you have limited time according to INEC's timetable. So is it really the more the merrier? Are you not worried about the numbers?
I still insist that it is the more the merrier. And it also speaks to how attractive the All Progressives Congress is as a political party. If you look at the people who are running, I would like to think that they all have experience, they all have commitment and competence, and they believe that they have something to offer. When I ran for governor in Ekiti State, there were 21 aspirants who ran with me in that race. Ultimately, it was decided at the primaries, and someone emerged. I don't think we should be too worried. We have
emerged, and that's why it's comfortable and it's positive for you.
No, but the rules are clear. The rules are clear. If we're having a direct primary, we know what we're dealing with. If we're having an indirect primary, we know who the delegates are. There is no under-the-table manipulation here. If you are entering into this race, you're very clear about what you're getting. You have to go and convince the ordinary members of this party and convince the delegates that you should be their choice. If you're not their choice, it's not the end of the world. We all should abide by the rules of the game, and then whoever wins at the end of the day would be the one who carries the ticket. And you're talking to someone who superintended the presidential primary. In 2014, I was the chairman of the presidential primaries in Lagos that produced Muhammadu Buhari as the candidate of the party. And it was a very clean process. It was a very collectively endorsed process. All the losers came after the process to acknowledge the victory of the winner. And I think that's what we're going to get at the end of the day when this is over.
Okay, are the governors playing towards a consensus candidate, and could that candidate be your good self? I mean, you are the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. Do you have the backing of governors across parties?
Even if I have the backing of governors across party,
you will not.
The governors of the other party, the opposition party, are not going to vote in the primaries of the APC. Okay. But I would like to think, having presided over the affairs of the Nigerian Governors Forum in the last 3 years plus, clearly I've earned the understanding and respect of my colleagues. That's why they put me in that position. And they believe that I have delivered of myself creditably in the position.
Let's talk about what you will deliver if you become president of Nigeria in 2023. Unemployment, well, staggering figures, 33% right now. Nigeria is the 9th worst place for women to live in the world. And as far as security is concerned, Nigeria scores 135 on positive peace ranking, 135 out of 163 countries. I mean, you have a background in the war games. Let's begin with the issue of security. How are you going to tackle that to a standstill if you become president of Nigeria?
Okay. Thank you, Ngozi. Let's not distract ourselves with these indices. They're a dime a dozen. People produce all sorts of statistics.
But they help us have an idea of where we are.
Yeah, they may, but they also may distract us from the main focus on what the issues are. But clearly, Nigerians are worried about security. And Nigerians want a government that will tackle the security menace in Nigeria. And I spoke this morning about that extensively, about one, the first posture, reorganizing the entire security architecture, about personnel, increasing the number of men in our armed forces and police. I also spoke about technology and understanding the nature of asymmetrical wars, because the people that our mainstream military are confronting are not your regular conventional forces, and you cannot use conventional means to tackle their the challenge. That's at the level of immediate solution to these problems. On a wider scale, because there are sociological underpinnings to the problems we're dealing with, we cannot ignore the link, inextricable link, between poverty and violence, between inequality and insecurity. So we also must deal with the causes, the drivers of insecurity. Unemployment, as you said, inequality generally in our country, problems of out-of-school children who then find themselves as canon fodder for these elements responsible for criminality.
Tackling
so
this
you
from,
need an
will you be tackling it
integrated-
from the center? Are you going to be tackling it from the center? You talked about decentralization.
I talked about that, and I also talked this morning about multi-level responses to our security challenges, because you cannot tackle it just by having an isolated approach. One, we still will continue to need our federal police. But having a federal police does not mean you shouldn't have other levels of policing that can immediately address challenges at that level, whether it's state or local. Two, I also talked about bringing in our reserve, because right now we are shortchanged. We have too few men and women in our armed forces. And even the ones we have, they are now having to be deployed to do policing duties. In 36, in all the states in this federation, you have military men undertaking policing, internal security responsibilities. That's not their job. Yes, really, they may be called in aid to civil authority to help and then go back to their primary duties, but that's not what is happening now. So we need a revamping of our entire security architecture. And we need to get the right force posture, the right equipment to tackle this. I was talking about dealing with insurgency and banditry in the Savannah Belt. The northern swath of our country is Savannah, it's plain lands, and the communities are far apart. So you have a lot of ungoverned spaces. You cannot deal with that with tanks. Armored tanks. You have to look for light mobile trucks to address such issues, because that's partly why you see those bandits coming in droves on motorbikes, because they too cannot walk all those distances.
Well, let's talk about power, electricity. Every government has promised to increase power and make it an issue of the past. What would you do differently to provide steady power supply to Nigerians?
Again, my understanding of the power challenge requires an integrated response. First, the privatization process that we undertook was not the best. And I am not even sure that we sold this generating plant and distribution companies to bodies that have the capacity to really deliver power along the lines of what we'd like to see. That's one. Second is the old problem of our national grid. I believe that it's time to regionalize the grid. and not depend on one single national grid. And we also need micro and mini grids.
You talked about revamping the credibility of the Nigerian state. I'm quoting your words from your declaration speech. Revamping the credibility of the Nigerian state and our national identity. What do you mean? What is wrong with our national identity?
Many Nigerians are conflicted, unless we want to deceive ourselves. They're conflicted between their ethnic identity and their national identity. And ultimately, the aspiration of every country is to become a nation. How do you become a nation if you don't exhibit a sense of ownership and a sense of belonging? We are a divided society. We're multi-ethnic, we're multicultural, we're multi-religious. And that does tend to affect the way some of our citizens see things. And that's why we have various mechanisms, even in our constitution, to try and bring us to a point of having a sense of national identity.
Federal character, like zoning, for example. Let me now bring this in, since you talk about a sense of belonging, national identity and all of that. Zoning continues to be in contention. Southern governors made a very strong case that there is a need for the presidency to go to the South come 2023. You were part of them. You are part of them. But you're running as a Southwest, should I say indigene? No. Well, you're from the Southwest of Nigeria.
But I'm not running as a Southwest candidate.
Yes, but you come from the Southwest.
Geographically speaking, but I'm a Nigerian.
At a time when the popular feeling, sentiment at this time is that it should go to the Southeast in 2023. You're running. Does it not further weaken the call for Southeast presidency in 2023? Where's the equity? Where's the justice? Where's the fairness?
If that is a popular sentiment, you said the popular sentiment, our delegates will reflect that sentiment, because that's the popular sentiment, according to you. Those who would vote at the election would also look at it from that perspective. But the point you make, which one must not make light of, is the sense of equity and justice that every citizen must feel in belonging to a country. And that's what really strengthens that national identity I talk about in my speech. There is nothing suggesting that if a Southeastern candidate who is not running as a Southeastern candidate, but a Nigerian candidate who has a Nigerian agenda, there's nothing that suggests that such a person cannot come up and win either in our party or in any other party.
You sound like enough was, but very quickly before we let you go, there's a meeting of Southwest presidential aspirants and on Friday. Will you be attending? Is that the decisive meeting to prune down the numbers from the region? And should you be persuaded to step down for another aspirant, for example, a Bola Ahmed Tinubu or a Professor Yemi Osinbajo, would you be willing to step down?
Well, I just don't put the cat before the horse. I am not aware.
You're not going for this meeting?
I am not aware that this meeting is about pruning down candidates or aspirants. I don't know. I have been invited by the leadership of our party, respected leaders of our party, to attend the meeting. I'm attending the meeting without any sense of entitlement and without any prejudice.
Right.
I would go to the meeting. When I get to the meeting, I'll cross that bridge.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kayode Fayemi, presidential aspirant under the APC. Thank you so much for joining us.